Well, hey, audio, everyone. Lost Leader here. We're back in action for more Force of the Will attraction. That's right, we have one more thing to do for Winds of the Ominous Moon. That's right, we're looking at the Jrulers in it. Oh boy. So let's see what we got going on here. So obviously we have Reiya, the fourth daughter of the Mikage. Not really that bad of a card so far. Just the standard fare that we usually have. She does have the ability to gain 3 mystery counters at the beginning of the game. On top of that, she could tap for a mystery counter, so if you're going second, you can also give another mystery counter to her via that way, so she could start out with a potential amount of 4 mystery counters. Aside from that, though, not a whole lot to talk about. They didn't do a whole lot with her sealed side of things over here, so we're looking at the next part of it to really fill out what she's trying to do here. Alright, here's the interesting side. Has an automatic ability. When this card enters the field, put 3 mystery counters on it. Okay, nothing new. Flying, active, rest, remove a mystery counter from this card, destroy target resonator. So you build up your mystery counters, and you potentially eventually wipe out the board field. So that's pretty cool too. But then we finally have her sealed item, Eye of Ragnarok. When this card enters the field, look at your opponent's hand and choose a card. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot play cards that share a name with that card. So you could potentially make sure that certain cards that do not get played for the next turn or during your turn, and you could effectively make it stall for time, or just at the very least, make it so you could potentially win the game when you flip Reiya. Not to mention this also works with a new ability of hers, well, new card of hers rather, not new ability, where she could also call out that card and remove it from the game. And considering that you're also going to be looking at their hand, you also have the potential to discard a number of cards from them. So overall, kind of an interesting way to go about things. They've been giving a lot of God Arts to a lot of cards, so it's kind of surprising that they didn't give Reiya a God Art, but instead just an Enter effect. But for the most part, this really does kind of play with the way that she works. She's going to be very heavy on discarding and controlling your opponent's hand and making sure that your opponent cannot play what they want to play. So overall, kind of actually good card effect for her. It's not too broken, but it's enough to make her be able to play with various mechanics that she does have. So in terms of things, I definitely feel like Reiya has 2 lines of thought here. One, which is Reiya Rush. You could eventually just use the Bats of the Mysterious Castle, just really ramp up your mystery counters and just go out that way. Or 2, Control, where you just discard their hand, you make sure to get rid of resonators that they want on the field, and overall just always have the card advantage in comparison. You also have various other options with Reiya by having Vampire Tribal and all that such, but for the most part she feels like one of the more limited cards in comparison to something like Carrick and Shayla. So she still doesn't feel as strong as them, but I definitely feel she's going to finally get proper play that she deserves in the higher tiers, which is very, very good. I definitely never thought she was a bad ruler by any means, but it's definitely confusing how we haven't really seen a lot of Reiya to begin with, considering that Reiya Rush is actually pretty freaking good. Having bats at 600, potentially 800 at the very beginning of the match is kind of insane, and it's really hard to deal with resonators when it comes to that. Add in Blood Ritual, and you got something really crazy with that. Not to mention that her discarding thing has gotten oh so much stronger, to the point where I feel she could contend with a green pretty easily now. So overall, she's pretty good. She's looking really good in there. I'm really hoping the best for her. My boy Reiya, she's got that goth girl. I hope she has a good time with her girlfriend and her fiance, because apparently they're married or something, Gil and her. Either way, good so far. Alright, now it's time to look at the whole entire cluster itself. The one that the last 2 little things have been about, the Time-Spinning Witch, which is a kind of weird colossal ruler. Never really seen these come out into play. Don't think they've been very good in comparison, but this is one that takes the cake here, and that we'll get to that point for various reasons. For now, we just got this little judgment here of time, so we got Time Wheel, got the energizing situation, so standard affair. And then we have activate ability, 0 cost, produce time. And then they can spend it, just do whatever you want with the time wheel that you usually do. And that's all it has going for it. So until you're able to get another Time Will, you won't be able to Judgment into her next form. But admittedly enough, being able to just do that pretty much on turn 2 is kind of crazy when you think about it. She could Judgment on turn 2 pretty easily. Regardless, let's look at what she got going on for this. So here's the next part of the Jruler. Very, very crazy what it's got going for itself. As you can see already, it has a Judgment 10, which is kind of crazy, and you can only play that ability if you control 10 or more Magic Stones. So you're going to have to mana ramp like crazy in order to get that going. And that means you're also going to have to stall for time in comparison. So aside from maybe like the next cluster, we're probably not going to see this Time Spinning Witch until Life Gain becomes a thing. Aside from that, there might be some stalling mechanics that the Time Spinning Witch can do in order to Judgment to her next form. And I'm only mentioning this right now because she has plenty of tools to work with just this set alone. But you're going to want to actually try to create a stall Kaguya deck. And it would not be the hardest thing to do for sure. Anyway, let's look at the rest of the ruler here. They just got a kind of crazy thing going on here. So right now we have a barrier flying, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. Just having that barrier and flying was just rude on Gil Lapis, but having it here and the potential of it coming out turn 2 means that you're always going to be able to hit them for 800 if you do not want to do anything else. Then it also is able to produce 2 Time Will instead of nothing, instead of 1 Time Will in comparison. So those little Time Wills that you had going for yourself now have the potential to be even stronger than before. And as we looked in the past, there is a lot of Time Will stuff that can do crazy stuff with this. So in a lot of ways, it's not really worth actually having any of the Time Will producers in comparison to just having the stones themselves and maybe making this more of a mono water deck. Regardless, kind of insane what it's doing here and what it can potentially do with a lot of the time cards going on and maybe later on down the road. Although I kind of doubt it's going to get any more support for Time Will. Regardless, yeah, it kind of fills itself in and is able to have the time cards for their own pretty much. Then it also has God Art Time Reverberation. 0 cost until end of game. You may play all other God Art abilities you play this game an additional time. This does not affect God Art abilities that are played after this effect for the first time. So there's a very important reason why you want that to be happening, but for the most part, it's not relevant in the discussion right now. Mainly because we haven't got to the stalling mechanic of the Time Spinning Witch, which gets kind of crazy to begin with. But so far, we just have a very solid potential beat 'em up with a barrier flying card. Obviously, if she gets killed at any point in time, the whole entire stall mechanic is over and done with. But to suffice to say, she cannot get killed by Shayla. She cannot be killed very easily to begin with. And overall, it's going to be really hard to get rid of this card aside from final battling it. Which final battle you're going to have to pay 24 life just to get rid of this card to begin with. Or potentially, yeah, that's kind of it. Just 24 life. So yeah, once that ends too, you have a problem with the stall mechanic. And that stall mechanic is definitely going to be up there. So for the most part, I will say I don't think the Time Spinning Witch will be in any kind of aggro rush deck, even though it does have the potential to do so, mainly because it just kind of more so focuses on stalling. And we're going to get into that part now. Unbound Princess of Time Kaguya, there she is. I love how her race is little girl. It's the funniest thing to me. But as you do judgment of this card, restart the game with this card on the field on this side. You go first. Insane thing, force of will. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? Tree is already stally enough as it is. You get one game in for Tree, and the second game is just a matter of, can I beat Tree fast enough? Because Tree's not willing to win, it just wants to stall out for time. But here though, we just got a whole entire different thing, and we're on game 1. It's been the whole round, and we're on turns on top of that. It gets kind of crazy with the situation. In all honesty, it makes me really sad that it's this way. But for the most part, starting over with Kaguya on the field really gives you a heavy advantage. Look at this automatic ability. At the beginning of your main phase, choose one, produce any will, or draw a card. You already have mana ramp, you are able to draw another card, you will always have the ability to do something with Kaguya on your side. And on top of that, you also have little extra things that you could do, like redo God Arts that you may have done before when you Judgment, and just kind of make sure your opponent just like lasts forever and ever. Kind of stupid. And on top of that, you can also run light with this deck to make sure that Kaguya also gets rid of her astral ability, and then you can restart the whole entire game all over again just to do this little situation. So we have that little crazy combo going into this for the stall thing, although the biggest problem with stall is largely the second part of this Jruler. Still though, I don't think we're going to see a whole bunch of them in play because they're not going to be popular to play with, but the people that do play it are going to be hell of annoying and worse than Tree ever was. While Tree only, you know, essentially killed off an archetype of a deck, this is going to like ruin a lot of GPs, and I feel like Force of Will doesn't understand properly how to do some of their card designs when it comes to, I only have a certain amount of time to play a card game. This is one of the things that you don't do. You don't restart games with a Judgment, even if it's a 10 cost. You just don't do it. Players are going to find a way around this and make it happen. It's just going to happen effectively. So, largely, we're all kind of screwed if this card gets any kind of major big support for competitive play. Will it? I think it will, honestly. I don't think it'll be major, but it'll be enough to be like, this is annoying. Oh, great, awesome, fantastical. Seal, Ancestor of the Priestess. Why is it Judgment 1? Just why? It's a Elf Resonator, Jruler, Judgment 1, Energize 1. At the end of your turn, attach target Aurora in your graveyard to this card. Kind of interesting little thing, but again, Force of Will, don't make Judgments like super easy to pay. Just don't do that. Mainly because of the next thing that's going to happen is this. Phatom Wind Fencing. I like that we have fencing back, but 1,000 for one will is insane. I don't care if you can use this just once. It also has a freaking crazy ability to go with it too. It's crazy. And honestly, I'm flummoxed entirely why this card game wants to ruin everybody in its way of life. But for the most part, I really want to make this card into a deck, and it's definitely going to be a rush deck by all means. But look at all these effects it does, it's kind of insane. So first things first, it actually does use the Aurora attachment mechanic, so we have to look at that real quick. So put 4 100 counters on target resonator you control, or put 2 400 Wind Spirit Resonators tokens with flying into the field, or recover up to 3 target magic stones, or you gain 1,000 life, or draw 2 cards, or this card deals 800 damage to target resonator. Oh god, why? It has like 5 different effects to go about things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 effects. Oh, jeez. It's not hard to get Auroras onto this card, in all honesty. They are all pretty much one-costing cards that are very useful to either stall out the game or otherwise. And on top of that, a continuous ability has this card gains imperishable as long as there's 3 or more Auroras attached to it. So if it dies, it can still come back and still do an interesting little effect with itself. Sure, if it has no Auroras on it, it can't do any of that enter field effect, but it's still 1,000 for chump change, a measly leaf. Like, honestly, if you didn't even have these effects, just ipping 1,000 just off the bat makes it hella good. Like, the only reason why people are gonna wait is because they want to like add extra things and kind of TKO the next turn or something. Like, it's just such a good rush card slash Jruler that I really want to use it, and it makes me hurt because Phatom Wind Fiethsing is definitely gonna be a big presence in the next coming set. of Force of Will with all these little cards coming in and coming out. It's just really, really strong for what it does, and it makes me really worried where Force of Will wants to have this as, because with Time Spinning Witch, it looks like it's going to be a stall mechanic type of card game, but with this, it looks like it's going to be a full-out rush type of card game. And admittedly enough, they are designed differently to the point of that situation, but fencing just doesn't need all this crazy stuff here. You could Judgment turn 4 and effectively have 5 will lined up ready to go for you, and just summon another Resonator that's like crazy powerful in that situation. It's kind of insane how this could just keep going on and on about itself. We're gonna win by turn 5 situations, and by all means, all these rush decks want to win by turn 5. Some of them can win faster than that, but for the large part of it, it's a turn 5 dealie. By turn 5, if you don't win, that's it. That's the end of the game for you. And this, by all means, has plenty of ways to make it turn 5 kill. Just with so many options it has and so many things that it can do, there's just a lot of cool stuff that it could do with the Aurora Chants, and the Aurora Chants themselves are freaking great as they are. They're not nearly as broken as Doll, I'll admit that wholeheartedly. Scheherazade is still an crazy, crazy powerful ruler, even with the bans that she has going for herself. Fencing will still have to fight Scheherazade for the top dog material, same with Fairer, but largely, I feel like she's going to be the top one. She is going to end up being the top because of how fast she can run, and all the things that Green has to rush through things, and the little additions and whatnot. That's just kind of super crazy about the situation. Regardless, this is easily the toppest one in terms of the 3 that we just saw. And by all means, the order that I did go is the order that I feel they are on the tier list. Reiya is definitely last on it. The Time Spinning Witch is second, with a lot of potential that it can do for later on clusters and what it could do for the soul mechanics now. But Phatom Wind Fiethsing is definitely the one that could help swing with the big boys, with Kirik, with Scheherazade, with Fairer, and just really just change the meta. So overall, yeah, this is a pretty good set of rulers to begin with. All of them feel very usable, but I just wish Force of Will would be better about balancing some of their cards and whatnot. By all means, this is kind of one of my favorite sets throughout the whole entire game I played of Force of Will. A lot of cards feel more useful in comparison to Ancient Knights, which is where I started at. But for the most part, I'm very happy with the set. I'm looking forward to returning to Valhalla and seeing what's going on there. But until next time, folks, thank you all for watching this. I really appreciate this. If you could like that button very gently, please do. And also share this video if you can. Thank you all so much for watching. I shall see y'all later, okay? Sayonara. Bye-bye.